Coming up on today's show, could the Browns be trading away this starter? We're going to unpack some rumors surrounding this potential trade brewing for the offseason. Plus, Lamar Jackson, is he done in Baltimore after the Ravens one-game playoff exit in the Bengals? We'll take some time on that. A lot going on, plus the Clowney Clown Show. I missed it over the weekend, but I was not going to miss talking about that. And we have an interview update on the defensive coordinator position. So, busy show today. Buckle up, and let's jump into it. Welcome into the Cleveland Browns Report by Chat Sports. I am your host, Matthew Peterson. And like I said at the top of the show, we got a lot of ground to cover, but I want to start with a quick victory lap on the Ravens. I'm sure, granted, they made the playoffs, clap it up for them, but a quick playoff exit. They definitely gave the Bengals more than what Cincinnati probably expected, but there are lots of rumors out there about Lamar Jackson possibly being done in Baltimore. So let's start the show off with this story. Lamar Jackson, is he done in Baltimore? So I'm going to give this one two Bernie heads, okay? I think it's two Bernie heads because I think it's a little bit more than just one of small shreds of truth. I think people are talking, right? I don't think we can run all the way to 3 or 4 because if the Ravens learned anything yesterday, it is they need Lamar Jackson. Tyler Huntley, I think, played a little bit better than people what people are saying. Yes, that 14-point swing was catastrophic, but with Lamar, I'm guessing the Ravens win that game. They don't have a 98-yard fumble return the other way. They probably go up 7-0 in the fourth quarter instead of going down 7-0. So, rumors are swirling around on Lamar's future with the Ravens following their playoff loss. And here's what I found interesting. Lamar Jackson did not travel with the team to Cincinnati. And during the broadcast, when they said that, at the moment, I didn't think that was a major deal because usually players that are injured don't travel. But then I thought, I don't know, you're the quarterback. You're injured. I get that. But it's a playoff game. Don't you think he should be there? I thought that was a bit bizarre. Maybe I'm making, a mountain out of a mound. But I do think there is some little inkling of, that was kind of bizarre. And I think his future is murky at best. It's definitely, the waters are a lot more murkier now. It's like the East River compared to Banff and Alberta before the season started, right? It's definitely gotten a little bit more unclear about his situation with the Ravens. He also posted this on Instagram, so I want to read it to you guys here. When you have something good, you don't play with it. You don't take chances losing it. You don't neglect it. I wonder what he's talking about there. I don't think it's a pet. I don't think it's a girlfriend. I think he's talking about himself right here, right? He's clearly trying to make a message to the Ravens of, you've got a good thing in me, which they do. Why they wouldn't pay him, I don't know. Now, the players absolutely want him back. I mean, look what J.K. Dobbins said after the game. Didn't hold back from according to Adam Schefter, on how Lamar Jackson's absence meant to the team during Sunday night's loss. If we'd had Lamar, we would have won. Now, J.K. Dobbins, by the way, went on quite the spree of, I don't know why I didn't get the football. He was really upset, no touches in the red zone, and I don't blame him. That was pretty bonehead. Honestly, Harbaugh made a great game plan for this, had it in the fourth quarter, one-possession game, but the clock management at the end was amateur at best, and then not giving it to J.K. Dobbins at the goal line when Tyler Huntley is not a Jacoby Brissett QB sneak guy. Also, Huntley was supposed to not go over the top, but, kind of underneath. And as a Tennessee guy, I remember when Jared Garantano did that against Alabama. 14-point swing, very similar. And it was, this time it was fun reliving it. But nevertheless, there is something to Lamar maybe not meshing as much as we would have kind of assumed with the Ravens at this point. And then there's this. Roquan Smith. The Ravens traded for him during the middle of the season, and they gave him quite the extension. 5 years, $100 million. Before you go and say all the money went to Roquan, that's not true. If they want to pay Roquan Smith and Lamar Jackson, they can do it. Look at the Browns. They just gave Denzel Ward $100 million and Deshaun Watson. So it's not like the salary cap is $25 million. It's not the NHL. They can pay a lot of players. But we're also talking about a Ravens organization that this was pretty groundbreaking for them. They don't give out big contracts. At the very least, here's what my prediction is. Lamar Jackson will be franchise tagged. At the very least, right? They're not going to let him walk in free agency. That's not going to happen. Now, you could see a tag and trade, right? Tag and trade him to the Falcons or the Jets or something like that. Maybe not the Giants anymore. But he's not walking in free agency. So what his future holds, I'm not quite sure. I would think they would pay him, but I wouldn't be shocked if Lamar takes this playoff loss, meets with the Ravens front office and goes, wow, my value skyrocketed in that playoff game by not playing because it went to show how badly you need me. And for that, whatever the offer was before the season started, tack on an extra $5 or $10 million. That's how badly you need me here. We've got more to get to on today's show, but we are trying to reach 17,000 subscribers here at the channel, and we are 220 away. Now, the analytics tell me what percentage of viewers are subscribed and not subscribed, and I know there are 220 Browns fans out there who have not subscribed to the channel, so please go ahead and do so for the best Browns offseason coverage on YouTube, guaranteed. Next segment on the show here. A Jedrick Wills trade. Is it coming this offseason? Are we going to see a Jed Wills trade get pulled off? Okay. I'm going to give this one. Here, we'll get it on screen. We got producer text on the ones and twos. Jedrick Wills trade this offseason. If I had to kind of scale for Bernie heads, give this one Bernie head. I think it's not fake news, right? I don't think you can call it a fake news story with Andrew Berry, but I do think there may be some legs to this idea of Jed Wills definitely underperforming for a first-round pick. Maybe he gets traded. So I'm bringing this up because I've seen it on Twitter a bunch. I've seen a lot of Browns fans talking about it in the comment section. And I saw a fan site to come out with a trade idea. So let's talk about a Jed Wills trade here. I think it's important to remind you guys that the Browns extended Jack Conklin to a 4-year deal, which I think too many people looked at that and went, well, that's the end of Conklin in Cleveland long-term. I don't buy that. One, Jed Wills is probably going to get that 5th year picked up this offseason. And if that's the case, he's on his rookie deal for 2023 and 2024. All of Jack Conklin's guaranteed money is essentially in 2023 and 2024. So they could run it back with these two tackles for the next 2 seasons and then cut bait with Conklin when all the guaranteed money is gone. And then they could pay Jed Wills, right? I don't think it's one or the other. Now, I don't think Jed Wills is looking like a left tackle who's going to get a second contract with the Browns. And if that's the case, maybe Andrew Berry decides, let's just move on now while we can get some draft assets for him and roll with James Hudson, who we quietly have a crush on, but we paid Jack Conklin. I don't get that part. Now, if we want to talk trades, I think it's important to make comparisons. And a similar-ish trade has gone down recently, and that was the Orlando Brown trade. Remember when the Ravens dealt him to Kansas City? Orlando Brown was much highly regarded at the time of the trade than Jed Wills right now. The Ravens got a 1st and a 3rd, but they also gave up a 2nd. So they didn't just trade Brown for a 1st. They gave up a 2nd, which kind of balances things out. Jed Wills is not going to get you a 1st-round pick, but that's kind of the closest trade we can kind of go back to here. Trent Williams got dealt to the Niners for hating the Redskins organization at the time and canceled. And he had Washington by the balls, so they couldn't get much for him. Now, here's what FanSided suggested here. The Browns get a 2nd, a 5th, and a 6th. And Chicago picks up Jedrick Wills, which I could see the Bears being interested in Wills. They need to make sure Justin Fields has good assets around him. And Jed Wills is not bad, right? Jed Wills is just kind of mediocre average. He hasn't been a train wreck. You know what I mean? He hasn't been an Alex Leatherwood 1st-round pick that you can't even put onto the field. No, Jedrick Wills has been serviceable. He just hasn't looked like that top 1st-round pick. And if you look at his PFF grades for this season, Jedrick Wills, it's been up and down. We'll throw the PFF grades on for you guys in just a moment here. But Jed Wills so far, in my opinion, has been, I don't know. You had a text. There it is. No, there it is. Bingo. Okay. Pro Football Focus wasn't too kind to him. 60 out of 81. That's bottom half of the league. 62.9 overall. 10 penalties. 6 sacks allowed. I think we can all agree he's been, I wouldn't necessarily say a bust, because I think bust is a strong word for a 1st-round pick. He's been underwhelming. Now, he's definitely looked better this year at times than his first 2 seasons with all the ankle injuries that sort of nagged him. Andrew Berry was decently upbeat about him going into the offseason with his postseason press conference, saying he saw strides and whatnot. What bugs me about Jedrick Wills is whenever his quarterback is getting thrown down and sacked, he kind of just stands there with this posture of, oops, sorry about that. That's my bad. Like, how about you go in and pick up your quarterback, right? That always kind of drove me nuts here. Now, if a team offered the Browns a second-round pick for Jedrick Wills, with Cleveland not having their own first-rounder, they do have a second, but 2 seconds you can do some damage. Would you do that trade? Second for Wills, trade or pass? Take that second round. You could draft another tackle. I think you would probably go wide receiver and defensive tackle and then start James Hudson, which might be a better combination. Overall, when it comes to trading Wills, I like the idea of having a average, decent, whatever word you want to call. He's not a train wreck. He's not a liability. Left tackle while they're on their rookie deal. Like, that's pretty good value right there. Am I talking about extending Jedrick Wills? Absolutely not. And at this point, I'd be surprised if he got a second contract with the Browns. But getting a guy 5 years rookie contract, that's serviceable. Reset after that, right? Wasn't worth a second round, wasn't worth a second contract, but I think he might be worth riding out the rookie deal while he's cheap and assessing the situation after that. We've got more stories to get to in just a second, but today's Browns Report has a new sponsor, LinkedIn Talent Solutions. So here at Chat Sports, we have been growing like crazy, and we have been using LinkedIn to bring in the best talent possible. So if you are looking for a new hire at your small business or your company, check out linkedin.com/NFL Daily. These days, every new potential hire can just feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. And you want to be 100% certain that you can have access to the best qualified candidates. That's why you have to go to LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and free. And that's what we've been doing here at Chat Sports as we continue to add more very valued and highly qualified members to our team. Add your job and the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread word that you're hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's a small business rate LinkedIn Jobs #1. It's why small business rated LinkedIn Jobs, #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/NFL Daily. That's linkedin.com/NFL Daily. I have that link for you all in the comments and the description of today's show. Now, to put a bow on the Jedrick Wills talk here, if I had to think of some destinations, the Bears, right? We just talked about them. The Patriots are looking for an upgrade for their tackle situation. The Falcons are looking for a new right tackle. The Rams are looking for a whole new offensive line, but they're not giving me F them pick vibes anymore. And then the Colts, they had an abysmal offensive line outside of Quentin Nelson, a couple other guys, but I don't think anyone is absolutely too safe here. All right, let's move on to our final segment of today's show. Is Jadeveon Clowney an absolute clown show? I wish that this broke earlier before the weekend and before I was out of the office, but I'm not going to miss this. It's for Bernie heads, baby. Yeah, Jadeveon Clowney absolutely was a clown show, walking back his words and his statement to the media, and he's been looking for a job. And let's get LinkedIn at the bottom, by the way, big text here, because he's absolutely going to be reaching out to LinkedIn trying to find himself a new job. Now, to go back a little bit here, Mary Kay, remember, a week and a half ago, tweeted out, Jadeveon Clowney tells Cleveland.com, 95% sure I won't be back. I need to be around somebody that believes in me. And then he had a full quote talking about how the Browns aren't utilizing him best, and he's kind of done here. And it was like, okay, Clowney's done in Cleveland, all right? Well, then over the weekend, he dropped this statement. And let me read it to you. As a son and a parent, which I don't understand how that applies to this whatsoever, I want to fully apologize to anyone I offended, specifically Myles Garrett and his family. My words in the locker room were not only taken out of context, but completely misrepresented. As a man, I have reached out to Myles specifically to apologize. I will continue to learn and grow as I move forward. What a load of baloney. That's just not true. Your words were not misrepresented. They were not taken out of context. Everything you said was what you thought and was somewhat true. Not the opinionated aspects, but you only wanting to play third down in the Ravens game. Chris Kiffin, the D-line coach, he backed up that claim. So then Cleveland.com clapped back with this, David Campbell, saying, Jadeveon Clowney's comments last week in his one-on-one interview with Mary Kay were quoted verbatim and were an exact and accurate representation of what he said. In fact, the key points of Clowney's complaints were later corroborated by other Browns players and coaches. The context really could not have been any fuller. Mary Kay herself saying, during the interview, he expressed his unhappiness with being given tougher matchups at various points during the season and stated he only played third downs against Baltimore because of it. His own defensive line coach, Chris Kiffin, confirmed this during a media session last week. The story accurately represented his feelings, and I did not take him out of context in any way, shape, or form. Shout out to you, MKC, because you're absolutely right. This is a clown show by Clowney. He looks bad, bashing his teammates and his coaches, and what does he do? He just slips in a one sentence of, everything I said was taken out of context. No, it wasn't. What you said was what you felt. Now you just look like a big Dumbo for saying it before the season wrapped up and to the media. Like, that's the kind of stuff maybe you say for your agent during free agency when your agent's talking to other GMs and they go, hey, they weren't using Clowney correctly, right? Why you decide to go off on a rant and saying Myles Garrett gets special treatment essentially before week 18, that was idiotic in itself. And that's why he did not play in the final game of the season. But for him to go back and go, no, that was taken out of context, that's a big L. So we got some DC news to hit on before we let you guys go. Cameron Justice tweeting out that the Browns are interviewing Sean Desai today for their defensive coordinator position. The Browns have already conducted a handful of interviews, and Sean Desai does have some DC experience. He was the defensive coordinator briefly, just one season for the Bears, and then they had a regime change, and he was kicked out, and he went over to Seattle, where he's been a defensive assistant coach and assistant head coach or whatever. But the interview list, we're starting to get some check marks here, okay? Jim Schwartz has been interviewed. Brian Flores, Sean Desai. Next up is Denard Wilson this week. He is the defensive backs coach for the Philadelphia Eagles. Once Gerard Mayo kind of pulled out and said he was going to hang out in New England, they added Denard Wilson to just, add more hats in the ring, get the best possible guy out of the interview process. The way I look at this, and I'm going to keep repeating it because I think some people are still getting way too upset about the Browns potentially not picking their preferred guy. I understand we all have favorite candidates. We all want our favorite candidates, players, whatever, draft picks to be selected. But the name of the game here, and don't lose sight of this, was find someone better than Joe Woods. Jim Schwartz, Brian Flores, Sean Desai, all better than Joe Woods. So whether or not it's your preferred candidate, just be happy it is an improvement. Now, with that being said, I've asked for the last week and a half who you want the Browns to hire. Who is your least favorite candidate? It should still be taken with an idea of optimism of at least it's better than Joe Woods. But if you had to, take someone out of the running, who would it be? Let me know in the comments section below. I'm going to sign off, and I'm going to see you all later with more Browns news and rumors.